And we're back. Sorry about that, my camera stopped working for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I think I might need to get a new one. Anyway, I don't think we missed too much, so we'll just quickly start filling in the rest of this drawing. Again, we're just doing pretty much what we had on this side and doing it over here. So we'll just quickly pan out the rest of the eye. Again, we're just roughly working out the circle that will form this part of Derpy Tiger's eye. And again, we'll just add a little bit of shading around the eye using the charcoal. Again, you can do this with pencil. I just find charcoal's a little bit faster and a bit more forgiving when you're wanting to achieve, excuse that noise, that's just my cat going crazy. Perhaps he's jealous because I'm giving attention to another cat. So we'll just quickly shade this in. Yeah, as I was saying, pencil, I find it can just be a little bit more time consuming to work with, whereas charcoal is very fast and gets good results in very little time. And I'm just going to lift some of the shading off the eye on this side just to brighten it up a little bit. There we go. Now for the nose, there's a very faint shadow either side of the nose on this side here. We're just going to do the outline of the nose here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, we're just trying to do something enjoyable. Put little lines here, they curve around that way. It's almost like a little pig snout at that point, and a little line curves down there. I'll just smudge out the outlines of the mouth. We know roughly where we're going with that. And we've got the curve that follows along here, and the same on this side. As I say, excuse that noise. My cat Ozzy is just going slightly insane at the moment. And draw the rest of the mouth around here and here. I'm sure the cat owners out there will understand what it's like to have a cat who's absolutely mental. Yeah, I'm just going to have that tooth curl back slightly more. Put a bit there, I think. And much the same on this side as well. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to do a cool little speed drawing. Have the angle of the mouth go around to about here, I think. And it curves a little bit at the corners, and then a very, very slight curve for the bottom half of the mouth. Now again, in the original artwork from the film, there is a distinct black outline because he has black gums, or sorry, black lips, I should say. And again, at the upper lips, it's more of a distinct outline there as well, just to add to the curve at the top of his mouth. Now around here there's a bit of a more distinct sharp outline for the smile, and then it's more blended along here and along here, a sharp outline again. So you just want to try and maintain that sort of rough texture. Now we'll quickly fill in this part here, but we won't go right to the sides. And the same here, and go right to the sides. So what we'll do is we'll smudge that out a little bit, and perhaps even use the charcoal just to smudge it out and make it a softer gradation. And we can go back in later and refine that a little bit there. Now we'll quickly put in the teeth. So he's got tiny little sharp pointy teeth here and here, and at the side this one's a little bit smaller than the others. Another one there. Then he's got the fangs coming down to about there. This one's a bit bigger. I think partly what makes him look so derpy is the unevenness of his teeth. Here we've got almost central tooth, then a small one, then a great big fang that tucks behind that one. Should make that perhaps a bit bigger. Then you've got a hint of the gum. Then here we've got a small tooth, a big tooth there. Again, that tooth goes behind there. Okay, we can fill in the rest of the mouth. So a hint of a gum, so we want to leave a little bit behind there. And again, we're just doing this as a quick drawing, but you can go back in and refine these details at a later stage, should you wish. We've got just a hint of jawline over here. We'll smudge that out a little bit, just make it easier to work into. And we'll just very gently, we'll put in the jawline of Derpy Tiger. Again, we'll let the charcoal do a lot of this work, but we're just roughly working out where we want the outlines to go. This can be smudged a little bit because we'll be doing more detail in a moment. So just get a rough idea of the shape of the head. You see there's a slight indent and a little bump there on that side. And then we've got the rough outline of his ears. We're going to do a sort of broken ragged line here just to, I think I might have actually made that ear a little bit too big, so we will make it a little bit smaller, I think, maybe. Yeah, I think that's perhaps a bit better. We've got the inside of the ear, but here, and we'll do the same at this side. So you can see there's a little bit of a corner here, goes up to a slight point, here, to a little bit there, a little bit shadow around the tufts at the sides of the ear. There we go. Now for the outline over here, again we can smudge that a little bit and just refine this outline. Got your paw going down to here. Now at this point it's shaded out a little bit, so we need to do a very rough idea it'll be. It's got a stripe showing a bit there, and another perhaps here, and at this side. I've got that part tapering down to there. I've got the first toe, or his toe beans. We'll smudge that a little bit. There we go. And we've got the, doesn't need to be spot on, just little hints of each of his claws, because we'll let the charcoal do most of the work down here. Just leave quite a dark shadow going up to about there, and similarly going up to about there. We can smudge that out a little bit. We'll put a shadow here, and we'll put in the eyelid, which is about here. Not the eyelid, sorry, but the stripe that looks a bit like an eyebrow. Kind of goes up to about there. And the same on this side. Now you can shade it to make it look like it's following the direction of the fur. In this case it looks very much like a regular eyebrow, but we will make it look less like that as we shade it with the charcoal. Got another eyebrow stripe about here, and another here. Make that a little bit bigger, I think. And similarly, we'll make this one a bit bigger. It'll take us to the side of the head. Again, we can probably shoot out that smell a little bit more because they sort of meet here. And similarly, there's a shadow that joins them there. You notice these lines go all the way to here. There's another little stripe at the side. We can smudge some deep lines just to soften that up a bit. There we are. And you'll notice there's a hint of a shadow under here. And similarly, under here, now we'll put these three black spots. That should probably be about there. That one there, third one perhaps there. I've got the third stripe that leads up to the ear. The same on that side. There we are. And the plant pot, we've not really got much time for the plant pot to fit this within 30 minutes, but we'll very quickly do some contour shading here where you're just drawing some lines that follow the slight curve of the plant pot. Up there, and we can smudge that just to get a rough idea of the shape of the plant pot. And we can just roughly, don't want to make it look too much like popcorn, but we can fill in little details here. And again, just add a bit of contrast. We'll add light and dark areas. Okay, and now we'll add a bit more shading here. We're almost at the end. Now, most of this leg here is in shadow, so So we can fill that all in. A little bit of light hits it around about here. A little bit of light hits it here. So we can just very subtly smudge that a bit from there. And this side, again, there's shadow down here. The light hits it so that this bit sticks out. A little bit light around here. There's a lot of deep shadow along here. And along this way. So we'll smudge that out a bit. And again, I would perhaps make that shadow a bit darker still, and similarly under the jawline. Derpy Tiger. Now very carefully smudge that without removing too much of the shadow, and leaving these parts highlighted. Again, here we'll do a little bit of shading just along the bottom edge of Derpy Tiger. We don't want to overdo it and remove all sense of contrast. It's a lot darker at the sides, so again we'll very carefully go around there. Now with the charcoal pencil, we'll go back over that line a little bit more, just so it stands out a little bit, and we get some contrast again. It's just a speed drawing, we're not looking for perfection. Now we've got some shading to go here because around the eye is quite bright, so we can very loosely shade this part. Again, there's a highlight above this point, so we only want to go to about there. Very gently shading in along here. So as you can see, you've got a lighter part here, light part here, a little bit shading in this corner, and it's lighter here and here. So again, just gently pat that out. Do a little bit of shading here and here, just to add a bit of visual contrast, and we can pick out a few more details. What I'll do at this point is just roughly, I'll try to maintain a fur texture, go around the outside of Derpy Tiger, just to add a bit of visual contrast. Bear in mind he's stepping out of the shadows, so we want to put a little bit of depth behind him. So just make sure that the outside of him pops a little bit. There we are. And from here, got that shadow from there. Just very gently, without going too much around the lines, just put a little bit of shadow around him there. And do the same here. Again, we'll lean a bit heavier here, and then add a little bit of shadow around the outside here, and then we can just smudge that off a little bit. And then do horizontal lines here to add a bit of contrast. shadow here just to give that a bit more depth. Darken that down just a little bit. With the lines. And then I think just for a little bit of extra contrast, just a little second. I realise I may have gone over the time slightly. The camera malfunctioning has thrown off my timer ever so slightly, so I think we might be a few minutes over. Bear in mind, I'm still relatively new to this, so I'll try and be a bit more efficient with my time in future videos. We'll just try and put in a little bit of highlight here and here, and similarly here and here. Now this might not be apparent in the video from your viewing standpoint, but when you've got the drawing in front of you, this will be a lot more noticeable. And from here we can also on the outside of, this is entirely optional, but it's just a little visual graphics trick that you can do to help Derpy Tiger stand out a little bit more, is on the outside of his outline, if you have a white pencil, or you can just be very, very careful and go over it with an eraser, just to create a little bit of visual contrast. There we are. I think I've proven to darken that a bit more again. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just looking for an interesting little drawing. So we'll just a little bit of contrast here. And that ear certainly has to be darker, doesn't it? And there we have it. Just for a quick 30-minute drawing, we have Derpy Tiger from KPop Demon Hunters. If you want, you can go back in and refine it in a lot more detail. I would certainly be tempted to do that. Or you can leave it here if you're quite happy with it and you want to go on to work on something else. We will be working on a whole range of different subjects, different characters, different topics in future videos. But certainly throughout them all, we'll try and see how much we can accomplish in 30 minutes. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you've got any suggestions, any feedback, anything you'd like to see in a future video, I would absolutely love to hear from you. In the meantime, just keep on drawing. See you in the next one. Bye bye.